Hi, this is Mark by Mark A. Foster, Ph.D. That is the new name of my show. I apologize for the amateurish background. Where I previously lived in Kansas, the background wasn't that spectacular, but it was better than this. Now I am living in deep South Texas, 3 miles north of Mexico, and I'm in the process of getting a new system set up here. So while that takes place, I apologize, but at least for a little while, this operation will be a bit on the amateurish side. I wanted to continue with my previous presentation on Marxism-Third Worldism, or Maoism-Third Worldism, or call it what you like. To me, it is the most important development in Marxism since the time of Karl Marx. Now, Karl Marx himself, of course, never wrote about Third Worldism. Marx was primarily concerned with the First World. He was unfamiliar with the Third World, largely. He had lived in Germany, then he moved to London, and he and his partner Friedrich Engels spent the rest of their lives living in London. So their knowledge of the Third World Wars was not that great. Then even Mao Zedong, after whom the tendency of Maoism-Third Worldism was named, Mao is not really a Maoist Third Worldist either. Now, obviously, he did write about the Third World, but Third Worldism, as that tendency was subsequently developed, was not really developed by Mao himself. So this tendency is relatively new. There are several people who are responsible for developing it. As I mentioned before, the individual who has had the most influence on me is the person named Jason Unruh, who is an autodidact, a brilliant scholar who never graduated high school, as he himself has admitted, so I'm not revealing any confidential information. I am very proud to be associated, even superficially, with a man like him, even if it's only in my head. And I always wish Jason the best, and hope that he is doing well. And I watch his videos all the time. I don't think I have missed one in quite a while. But more importantly, Comrade Nicole, who also has her own YouTube channel, is the one who brought me back to Marxism or Maoism Third Worldism. She is a wonderful person. She is also a trans woman, and an exceptionally good speaker, a brilliant woman. She expresses herself very eloquently, and for some reason I was impressed by her. Part of it, I think, was because, as she herself has said on her channel, she is autistic. Well, I am also autistic. I think that is why I perhaps connected with her, was because of our shared autism. Generally, when I run across somebody who is autistic, I feel a sense of camaraderie that I do not ordinarily feel with most people. The same thing was true when I was still a professor before I retired. When I would meet students who would tell me that they're autistic, I immediately felt a sense of camaraderie. And when the situation came up, if it came up, I would tell them that I too was autistic, although I tried to be somewhat careful. I didn't want my courses to be about me, and so whenever I discussed it, it was always in private with those particular individuals. Now, getting back to the subject of Marxism or Maoism, Third Worldism, or just Third Worldism, or make up your own name for it. The perspective that I have developed on Marxism or Maoism, Third Worldism is, as I said earlier, rather unique and perhaps different from the one developed by Jason Unruh or Conrad Nicolle to an extent, although there are a lot of parallels as well. And I admire both of those individuals and have learned a lot from them. In fact, I would say that I would not be a Marxist or Maoist third worldist were it not for Jason Unruh and Conrad Nicolle. They are the ones who woke me up, in a manner of speaking, and made me aware of the fact that third worldism is really the only alternative that we have for our future. People who put their faith in the continuity of the present first world, or as it's sometimes called, the Western world, or the global North, I think are being misguided. There is no real hope in the first world. Now, some would say that maybe even if there's not hope right now, perhaps once the third world gets things started, perhaps once revolutions begin taking place in the third world, then maybe the first world can be brought on board. Well, I am not going to dismiss that possibility. I'm not a prophet. When I've tried to predict things that I thought would happen, they generally did not. So I gave up on being a pretend prophet a long time ago. I am not very good at it. My ability to predict the future is really, really awful. So I don't know what's going to happen. Everything I'm saying might take a different course. What I do know is that by looking at the first world, I see an almost endless array of dialectical contradictions. In other words, the contradictions of capitalism are so intense in the first world that I don't see a way of escaping them. Now, maybe there is. Maybe I'm wrong, and maybe there will be a way that the first world can survive and recover, but I just don't see how. I literally feel, and I realize this sounds pessimistic, I literally feel that the first world will simply nuke itself out of existence, or something, whether through nukes or climate change or biological weapons or chemical weapons or something. The first world is in really, really bad shape. And if you leave the first world and you ask people, many people who live in the third world, they know that. Most people in the first world seem to be entirely unaware of the problems that we are facing, but not in the third world. I have had extended conversations with people in Mexico who are very much aware of what issues we have here and are not very positive about the chances of our survival. That is how I feel as well. And again, a lot of it is because I go down there and I chat with people. I have one friend in particular who runs a leather goods shop. He is not poor, relatively. He does okay, I suppose. But he is in Mexico. And he gets the vibes in Mexico. And he talks with other people in Mexico, including people who go into his wonderful store. If any of you ever have the chance to visit that store, which is right on the Mexican side of the Rio Grande Valley, I would encourage you to do so. It is a beautiful place, and he is a beautiful man. And if you want to know more about him, ask me, and I can in the comments section. I'll tell you his name, and the name of his store, so you can actually go there for yourself. I would strongly encourage you to do so. He understands communism. He is a communist, at least to some extent. He sounded like a communist to me, and I'm sure he would be very happy to talk with you as well. Last time I was there, I spoke with him for about 4 hours. Maybe I overstayed my welcome, I don't know, but it was a wonderful chance to speak with an absolutely brilliant man, and his English is perfect. He doesn't think it is, but he has no what I can tell, no trace of a Mexican accent. He speaks with a fluent English American accent. So what do I think is going to happen? Well, again, how the hell do I know? How the hell do I know? I'm just some jerk sitting here in Mission, Texas, a retired college professor living on a pension, living on Social Security, living on Medicare. I don't know a damn thing. Don't depend on anything I say. Assume that anything I say is most likely wrong, or most likely at least partially wrong. But what I think I can share with people who are watching this video, maybe wasting your time as well, is that I think that the time for the end of the first world has arrived, and the time for the birth of a new third world is also at hand. I doubt it will be called the third world then. Obviously it's the third world now, because there still is a first world. There is no more second world. That was the world of the Soviet Union and I guess mainland China. Mainland China is no longer a communist country. There is no more Soviet Union, and Russia is, if anything, fascist and not communist. So basically, if you look at the world today and try to make sense out of it from the perspective of first world, second world, third world, that really doesn't fit. But the term third world has a long and valued history, and it has a political connotation which the term global south simply does not have. That's a kind of neutralization of the politics of the third world. The third world is, I think, the place where communism will start, and I honestly don't think that there will be a first world to go along with it. I think the first world will be entirely, or almost entirely, placed out of the picture. That communism will be built in the third world, and that's all. Now, do I hope I'm wrong? Partially. I guess the partially is because I live here, although I'm, again, just a few miles from Mexico, so maybe in my case it doesn't matter. But I have family all over the United States, and friends all over the United States. I don't want to see them suffer. I would like to see them prosper, just like anybody else, just like people I know in Mexico and in other parts of the world, but I just don't see it. I simply don't see how that is possible. Now, if I am wrong, I am wrong, but that is my perspective at this time. That is my broadcast for right now. This is Mark by Mark Foster, Ph.D. Thank you, and have a good rest of your day or evening.